Congratulations on your promotion, Mark. My father's voice boomed across my office as I stood frozen in the doorway. My brother stood at my desk, reading my confidential emails aloud to our parents like they were his own achievements. The subject line glowed on my computer screen: Senior Project Manager Promotion, Confidential. My mother clutched Mark's arm, tears of pride streaming down her face. "We always knew you'd make us proud, sweetheart," she whispered. My stomach dropped. This was my promotion. I had worked 70-hour weeks for 6 months on the Riverside development project. I had sacrificed weekends, missed family dinners, and poured everything into proving myself at Henderson Architecture. And now my younger brother was claiming it as his own accomplishment while our parents celebrated him in my workspace. Mark's eyes met mine across the room. For a split second, I saw something flicker in his expression. Not guilt. Triumph. He smiled that charming smile that had gotten him out of trouble his entire life, then turned back to our parents. "I couldn't have done it without the team's support," he said smoothly. My hands trembled as I gripped my briefcase. Every fiber of my being wanted to scream the truth, but my voice caught in my throat. "My name is Victoria Hayes, and I am 31 years old." That morning changed everything I thought I knew about my family and myself. I drove home in complete silence, my mind replaying the scene over and over. Mark was 28, 3 years younger than me, and had worked at Henderson Architecture for only 18 months. I had been there for 7 years, climbing from junior designer to project coordinator to now, supposedly, senior project manager. Except everyone thought the promotion belonged to Mark. At home, I sat on my couch in the dark, my laptop balanced on my knees. I pulled up Mark's work history, his project assignments, his performance reviews that I should not have had access to, but did, because I had helped set up the company's digital filing system years ago. The pattern emerged clearly. Mark had taken credit for 3 smaller projects in the past year, all led by other team members. He was skilled at inserting himself into final presentations, at speaking confidently about work he barely understood. One colleague, Tom, had even complained to HR about Mark's behavior. Nothing had come of it. Mark was charming, personable, and our parents' favorite.
He always had been.
Monday morning arrived with gray skies and my determination set like concrete. I walked into Henderson Architecture with my head high, ignoring the congratulatory glances people threw toward Mark's desk across the floor. He waved at me cheerfully, as if nothing had happened, as if he had not stolen my achievement and paraded it in front of our family. I started attending every meeting, even ones outside my department. I took meticulous notes, documenting projects, timelines, and who actually did what work. During a cross-departmental meeting, I noticed Mark stumbling through questions about the Riverside development project, the very project that had earned me the promotion. "The load-bearing calculations?" he repeated when asked. "Those were handled by the engineering team." "Actually," I said quietly, "those calculations were done in-house. I can send you the files if you need to review them." Several executives glanced at me with interest. Mark's face flushed slightly. After the meeting, Tom from the design team pulled me aside. "Between you and me," he whispered, "some of us have been wondering about Mark's sudden expertise. He seems lost whenever technical questions come up." I began volunteering for high-profile projects outside my usual scope. When the Lakewood Commercial Plaza needed a redesign consultant, I submitted a proposal anonymously through the company's internal system. When the Northbridge Community Center required sustainable building analysis, I worked evenings to create a comprehensive report. My parents called that week to discuss Mark's promotion celebration dinner. "You'll come, won't you, Victoria?" my mother asked. "Mark specifically requested you be there. He says you've been such a good mentor to him at work." The irony burned. "I'll be there," I said flatly. At work, I received an email from Thomas Brennan, one of the senior executives. "Your Lakewood Plaza proposal was exceptional," it read. "We'd like to discuss your involvement in the project. Please stop by my office this week." I smiled for the first time in days. Mark passed my desk, coffee in hand, oblivious. "Great meeting this morning," he said casually. "I think the team really responded well to my presentation on the structural innovations." The structural innovations I had designed. I replied, turning back to my computer. He had no idea what was coming. Mark's confidence grew daily. He started giving impromptu presentations in the break room, discussing architectural theory he clearly did not understand. During a Friday lunch meeting with potential clients, he attempted to explain sustainable building practices and confused passive solar design with active solar panels, mixed up thermal mass with insulation, and suggested materials that would violate local building codes. I sat in the back of the conference room, taking notes. Mark's face grew red as the clients exchanged confused glances. Senior partner Nathan Cross stepped in, smoothly correcting the information while Mark stammered apologies. "Just a slip of the tongue," Mark laughed nervously. After the meeting, I lingered near the conference room, organizing papers. Two executives stood nearby, speaking in low voices. "That was embarrassing," one said. "How did he get promoted?" "I'm wondering the same thing," the other replied. Cross mentioned the board is reviewing recent personnel decisions. "Something seems off about the Riverside promotion." My heart raced. I gathered my papers and headed back to my desk, where I opened a new document. I began outlining every project Mark had claimed credit for, cross-referencing with actual project files, emails, and documentation. The evidence was damning. That evening, I received a surprise email from Bernard Foster, a retired executive who had mentored me when I first joined Henderson Architecture. "Victoria, I heard about the recent promotion situation. Could we meet for coffee? I think you might benefit from some strategic advice." We met Saturday morning at a quiet cafe downtown. Bernard listened intently as I explained everything, his weathered face showing no surprise. "Mark isn't the first person to climb on others' backs," he said finally. "But he's doing it sloppily. That works in your favor."
How?
"Because real talent always surfaces and real incompetence always sinks. You need to build an undeniable reputation. Document everything you do. Make sure your name is on your work in ways that cannot be erased or claimed by someone else." He sipped his coffee thoughtfully. "There's a major regional development project coming up. The firm will need someone exceptional to lead it. The board is already looking for candidates." "Mark will put himself forward," I said. Bernard smiled. "Let him. When they vet the candidates, they'll see who has the real skills." I left that meeting with renewed purpose and a clear strategy. Monday brought opportunity. Nathan Cross announced a cross-departmental initiative to streamline project management across all Henderson Architecture divisions. The project would require analyzing 5 years of project data, identifying inefficiencies, and creating new protocols. "This is high visibility," Cross explained to the assembled team. "The board will be reviewing progress monthly. We need someone detail-oriented and systematic." I volunteered immediately. Mark scoffed audibly. "That's more of an administrative role," he said dismissively. "Victoria, you're overqualified for data analysis. Let someone from operations handle it." "I disagree," I replied calmly. "This requires architectural knowledge to properly assess project workflows. Operations staff won't understand the technical aspects." Cross nodded. "Victoria's right. She's taking point on this." Mark's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Over the next 3 weeks, I worked methodically through project files, building databases, creating visualizations, and identifying patterns. My analysis revealed millions in potential savings through better resource allocation. More importantly, it revealed which projects had succeeded and why, and which had failed and who had been responsible. I submitted my preliminary report directly to the board with Cross's approval. "Impressive work," Cross said, reviewing my findings. "The board wants you to present this at next month's meeting." The company newsletter arrived in everyone's inbox Thursday morning. The headline read, "Hayes Initiative Shows Promise for Firm-Wide Efficiency." My photo appeared below, along with quotes from Nathan Cross praising my exceptional analytical skills and strategic thinking. Mark stormed over to my desk. "You're really milking this data project, aren't you?" "I'm doing my job," I replied without looking up. "Maybe focus on your own projects, Mark." "My projects are fine. Better than fine." "Then you have nothing to worry about." At lunch, several colleagues congratulated me. Tom from design said, "About time someone recognized your work properly." That evening, my mother called. "Mark seems stressed lately. He says work has been challenging. You're in the same office. Have you noticed anything? I paused. Mark is dealing with the responsibilities of his new position. That can be difficult. You sound different, Victoria. Do I?
Yes.
Stronger somehow. I smiled. Maybe I am. Mark's frustration became increasingly obvious. He snapped at junior staff, arrived late to meetings, and made excuses when asked about project details. The contrast between his behavior and my steady progress was stark, and people noticed. Cracks appeared in Mark's facade. During a team meeting, he contradicted himself about a project timeline, claiming first that construction would take 8 months, then 6, then correcting himself to 9. Which is it, Mark? Asked Tracy, a project coordinator. I mean 9. Obviously 9. I was thinking of a different project. But there was no different project with those specifications. People exchanged glances. After the meeting, I overheard Tracy talking to another colleague. He seems confused about basic details lately. I've noticed that too. Remember when he couldn't answer those client questions last month? I maintained my professional distance, never openly criticizing Mark, but also never covering for his mistakes. During a presentation he gave about sustainable design principles, he stumbled through slides I recognized from a conference presentation I had given 6 months earlier. He had copied my work, but did not understand the content well enough to answer questions about it. The thermal envelope calculations were done by our engineering partners, he said when pressed. I'd have to check my notes for the specific numbers. Except there were no engineering partners on that project. I had done those calculations myself. Several people turned to look at me. I remained silent, but my expression said everything. An unexpected ally emerged. Patricia Hughes, a senior project coordinator Mark had dismissed as just administrative support, approached me in the parking garage after work. Can we talk? She asked. I know what Mark did with your promotion. I was in HR processing the paperwork when he somehow convinced them his name should be on the announcement instead of yours. My heart pounded. Do you have proof? Digital records. Email chains. The original recommendation had your name. Then suddenly it changed, and Mark's charm offensive with the HR director worked magic. She handed me a USB drive. These are copies. Everything dated and time-stamped. I kept them because what he did was wrong, and I knew eventually it would matter. Why are you helping me? Patricia smiled grimly. Because Mark treated me like I was invisible while using information I gave him to look smart in meetings. Because you've always been respectful to everyone regardless of their position. And because the board is looking for someone to lead that regional development project Bernard Foster mentioned, and I want them to choose the right person. I studied the files that night. Patricia's documentation was meticulous. Emails showed the original promotion recommendation with my name. Then came Mark's messages to the HR director, laced with flattery and subtle suggestions. The manipulation was clear. The monthly board presentation arrived. I prepared extensively, creating detailed slides showing potential savings, efficiency improvements, and strategic recommendations. Mark, as a senior project manager, was required to attend. The boardroom intimidated most employees, but I felt calm. I had facts, data, and undeniable results. Halfway through my presentation, Mark interrupted. If I could add something, he said smoothly. These efficiency improvements align with strategies I've been implementing on my projects. Nathan cross-frowned. Mark, Victoria is presenting her research. Please hold questions until the end. I continued without missing a beat. After presenting my findings, I concluded, these recommendations are based on analysis of 274 projects over 5 years. Implementation could save the firm approximately $3.2 million annually while improving project delivery times by 18%. The board members asked detailed questions. I answered every single one precisely, referencing specific projects, numbers, and outcomes. When one board member asked Mark about his team's efficiency metrics, he fumbled. I'd need to check those exact numbers. Cross's expression hardened. You should know your own team's metrics. Mark's face flushed. He attempted to recover, but the damage was done. After the meeting, Cross pulled me aside. Excellent work, Victoria. The board was impressed. That evening, Mark called our parents. I know because my mother phoned me an hour later. Mark says you're undermining him at work, she began. Is that true?
No. I'm doing my job.
Mark is struggling with his responsibilities, and he's looking for someone to blame. Victoria, that doesn't sound like your brother. He's always been such a hard worker. I took a deep breath. Mom, has Mark ever showed you his actual work? His designs, his calculations, his project reports? Silence. Because I have mine. I have everything I've created, every project I've led, every problem I've solved. Ask Mark to show you his portfolio. Ask him to explain the Riverside development project that earned his promotion. Ask him about thermal mass and load-bearing calculations. Why are you being so harsh? I'm being honest. There's a difference. After hanging up, I felt both guilty and relieved. The truth needed to emerge, even if it was painful. My phone buzzed with a text from Mark. You're making me look bad on purpose. I replied simply, you're doing that yourself. I'm just doing good work. He did not respond. Over the next week, I noticed our parents cooling toward Mark's complaints. They started asking him specific questions about his projects, and his vague answers left them unsatisfied. Mark's next move was predictable but clumsy. I was assigned to lead the preliminary design for the Westfield Medical Center expansion, a significant project with a substantial budget. Midway through the planning phase, I discovered that materials I had requisitioned were redirected to another project without explanation. Equipment I had reserved became suddenly unavailable. Budget allocations were mysteriously delayed. Mark's fingerprints were all over it. But I had anticipated sabotage. I had already created backup plans, established relationships with alternative suppliers, and documented every resource request with timestamp and approval signatures. When Mark's interference became obvious, I calmly adjusted my approach. I brought in suppliers from a different vendor network. I reallocated budget from contingency funds I had strategically included. The project continued smoothly. During the mid-project review, Nathan Cross asked about the resource complications. There were some initial challenges, I explained, but strategic planning allowed us to adapt without impacting the timeline or budget. Actually, we're currently running 8% under budget due to alternative vendor negotiations. Cross nodded approvingly. Mark sat silently, his sabotage not only failing but making my problem-solving skills more visible. After the meeting, Tracy whispered to me, everyone knows what Mark tried to do. People are talking. The company-wide quarterly presentation was Henderson Architecture's biggest event. All staff attended, along with key clients and board members. Each department head presented their progress and challenges. Mark, representing the project management division, took the stage confidently. His presentation started well, filled with impressive-sounding statistics and polished slides. Then, the questions began. Can you explain the cost overruns on the Riverside project? Asked a board member. Mark's smile faltered. Those were due to unforeseen circumstances. What circumstances specifically? Material costs fluctuated unexpectedly. The project timeline shows material orders were placed during a market dip. Costs should have been lower than projected. Mark stumbled. I'd have to review the detailed reports. You led that project. You should know these details. I sat in the audience, my expression neutral while my heart pounded. Mark tried to deflect, but more questions came, each exposing his shallow understanding of projects he had claimed as his own. Finally, Nathan Cross stood. Perhaps Victoria can clarify, since she worked closely on Riverside. I walked to the front calmly. The material costs were actually 12% under budget due to strategic purchasing during the market dip. The project finished ahead of schedule and under budget. Documentation is available in the project files. The room was silent. Mark's face burned red. Cross nodded. Thank you, Victoria. Mark, we'll schedule a performance review. Mark's carefully constructed image crumbled rapidly. His ego, once bulletproof, showed cracks. He started blaming junior staff for mistakes, claiming miscommunication and sabotage. But people had stopped believing him. I received an anonymous email one evening. The subject line read, "You should see this." Attached were internal documents showing Mark's performance reviews over 18 months. Every review showed declining scores, increasing concerns about his technical knowledge, and notes about taking credit for others' work. The most recent review, dated 2 weeks ago, included a recommendation for additional training or possible reassignment. Someone in HR was feeding me ammunition. I suspected Patricia, though the email came from an untraceable account. I saved everything, organizing files methodically. The evidence painted a clear picture. Mark had manipulated his way into a position he was not qualified for, and the consequences were catching up with him. During a project planning meeting, Mark attempted to present ideas for the upcoming regional development project. His concepts were technically unfeasible and financially unrealistic. One architect actually laughed before catching himself. That approach would violate building codes in 4 different ways, the architect said apologetically. Mark deflated. I was just brainstorming. Maybe brainstorm with actual regulations in mind, someone muttered. I said nothing, but our eyes met across the conference table. He knew. He finally understood that I was not going to save him. My allies multiplied quietly. Tom from design started copying me on emails about project decisions. Patricia kept me informed about HR discussions. Even junior staff members began bringing questions to me instead of Mark, recognizing who actually understood the work. You're becoming the go-to person, Tom observed during coffee. People trust you. I just try to be helpful and knowledgeable, I replied. That's all it takes. Competence and consistency. Mark became increasingly isolated. His lunch companions dwindled. People stopped laughing at his jokes. The charming persona that had carried him for years lost its power when backed by obvious incompetence. Then the leak happened. Someone anonymously forwarded internal documentation to the entire project management team, showing a pattern of Mark claiming credit for work done by others. Names were listed, projects detailed, evidence provided. The email came from an external account, untraceable but devastating. Mark tried to call an emergency meeting, claiming the leak was falsified, but Nathan Cross shut him down. We'll investigate these claims thoroughly, Cross announced. Until then, Mark will be temporarily reassigned to administrative duties. Mark's face went white. I felt no satisfaction, only tired relief. The truth was finally emerging, and I had not needed to fight dirty or compromise my integrity. I had simply done excellent work consistently while Mark revealed his own weaknesses. The regional development project became official. Henderson Architecture would lead a $20 million initiative to redesign 3 commercial districts in neighboring counties. The board needed a project leader with proven skills, strategic thinking, and the ability to handle complex, high-stakes work. Nathan Cross called a meeting of potential candidates. Mark attended, still holding his temporary title despite his reassignment. I attended, my portfolio now filled with undeniable achievements. Cross outlined the project scope, timeline, and expectations. This will define Henderson Architecture's reputation for the next decade. We need our absolute best leading this initiative. Mark leaned forward. I believe my experience with large-scale projects makes me ideal for this role. Cross looked at him evenly. Mark, you're currently under performance review. You're not eligible for consideration. The room was silent. Mark's face cycled through shock, anger, and humiliation. Cross turned to me. Victoria, your efficiency analysis and your flawless execution on Westfield Medical Center demonstrate exactly the skills we need. The board would like you to lead this project. My heart soared, but I kept my voice steady. I'd be honored. Mark stood abruptly and left the room. Several people glanced at me, but I maintained my composure. This was not about Mark anymore. This was about the work, the opportunity, and proving what I had always known. Real talent rises. The project review meeting was scheduled for Friday. Mark, still clinging to his position, was required to attend and present his recent project work. The board requested detailed documentation, technical explanations, and outcome analysis. I knew he could not provide any of it. Friday arrived with rain drumming against the conference room windows. Mark presented first, his slides filled with vague statements and borrowed concepts. When questioned about specific technical decisions, he deflected. That was handled by the engineering team. Which engineering team? We handle most calculations in-house. I'd have to check my notes. You led this project. How do you not know? The questions continued, each answer weaker than the last. Documents he claimed to have created showed metadata revealing other authors. Calculations he described as his own matched projects led by other architects. By the end of his presentation, the board members looked disgusted. Mark, this is unacceptable, one board member said flatly. You've misrepresented your contributions and demonstrated fundamental gaps in knowledge expected of your position. Mark tried to defend himself, but the evidence was overwhelming. He stormed out, slamming the conference room door. I presented next. My documentation was meticulous, my technical knowledge obvious, my results undeniable. I walked through challenges I had solved, innovations I had implemented, and savings I had generated. This is the caliber of work we expect, Cross said. The board agreed unanimously. Sunday dinner at our parents' house felt different. My father was quiet, my mother watchful. Mark arrived late, his usual confidence replaced with sullen defensiveness. How's work, Mark? Dad asked carefully.
Fine.
Some people are jealous of my success and trying to undermine me. My mother glanced at me. Victoria, you work with Mark. What's your perspective? I chose my words carefully. Mark has been struggling with the technical demands of his position. It's not uncommon for someone promoted beyond their current skill level to find the transition difficult. That's not what's happening, Mark snapped. You've been sabotaging me from the beginning. You can't stand that I got promoted. Actually, I said calmly, that promotion was originally mine. You claimed it. I have documentation proving the recommendation had my name first. Silence fell over the table. What? My father's voice was sharp. The promotion for the Riverside project was offered to me based on my work. Mark manipulated the announcement. I have emails, timestamps, everything. My mother looked at Mark, whose face had gone pale. Mark. It's not like that, he stammered. There was confusion about who led what parts of the project. There was no confusion, I said. You lied. And you've been taking credit for other people's work for over a year. HR has documentation. The board knows. It's over, Mark. Monday morning brought vindication. Nathan Cross called an all-staff meeting. Mark was noticeably absent. I want to address some personnel changes, Cross began. After thorough review, we've determined that the promotion given to Mark Hayes 6 months ago was based on inaccurate information about project leadership. That promotion is being rescinded. Gasps echoed through the room. Furthermore, Mark is being reassigned to junior associate status, pending additional technical training. His performance review revealed significant knowledge gaps and ethical concerns about misrepresenting his contributions. Cross turned to me. Victoria Hayes led the Riverside project and deserves recognition for that achievement. Effective immediately, Victoria is promoted to senior project manager, her originally intended position. Additionally, she will lead our regional development initiative, reporting directly to the board. The room erupted in applause. I stood, accepting handshakes and congratulations, feeling years of frustration lifting from my shoulders. Tom hugged me. Finally, justice. Patricia smiled widely. You earned this. That afternoon, I received an email from Cross. The board is offering you a position 2 levels above Senior Project Manager, Director of Strategic Development. We need leaders with integrity and skill. Interested? I replied immediately. Absolutely. Mark's office was being cleared when I walked past. He sat at his old junior associate desk, looking small and defeated. Our eyes met. I felt no triumph, only relief that the truth had won. The company's annual conference arrived 3 months later. I was invited to give a keynote presentation about strategic project management and organizational efficiency. The auditorium was packed. I stood at the podium, looking out at colleagues, clients, and industry professionals. Success in architecture requires more than talent, I began. It requires integrity, persistence, and the courage to do excellent work even when that work goes unrecognized. I spoke about challenges I had faced, lessons I had learned, and the importance of documentation and building genuine expertise. Near the end, I mentioned briefly, I once had a promotion claimed by someone else. It was painful and infuriating. But instead of fighting bitterly or compromising my values, I focused on undeniable excellence. Eventually, the truth emerged because real competence cannot be faked long-term. The audience applauded. After my presentation, several people approached me with opportunities, collaboration requests, and congratulations. Mark attended the conference, required as part of his remedial training. He sat in the back row, leaving before the applause ended. I saw him go and felt nothing. That evening, my parents called. "We watched your presentation online," my mother said. "Victoria, we owe you an apology. We believed Mark too easily. We dismissed your achievements. We're sorry." "I appreciate that," I replied. "It hurt, but I understand family loyalty." "We were wrong," my father added. "You've proven yourself exceptional. We're proud of you." Mark attempted one final manipulation. During a project meeting I was leading, he interrupted repeatedly, questioning my decisions and suggesting alternative approaches that were technically flawed. "The load-bearing structure you're proposing won't meet code," he said confidently. I pulled up the building codes on the conference room screen. Section February 1st, 1805 specifically allows this approach for buildings under 6 stories with proper foundation engineering. Our building is 4 stories. The calculations are documented on page 12 of the report. Mark's face flushed. "I was thinking of commercial buildings. This is a commercial building." He tried again. "The sustainable elements will exceed budget." I displayed the budget breakdown. We're currently 8% under budget, with sustainability features included. The solar panel installation alone will generate savings that offset costs within 3 years. Every challenge he raised, I countered with facts, documentation, and expertise. Finally, Nathan Cross intervened. "Mark, Victoria has thoroughly researched every aspect of this project. If you have legitimate concerns, submit them in writing with supporting documentation. Otherwise, please stop disrupting this meeting." Mark fell silent. After the meeting, I overheard 2 board members discussing Mark's future. "He's not adapting well to his reassignment. Maybe it's time to discuss whether he has a future here at all." Mark's downfall was complete, not because I destroyed him, but because he destroyed himself through incompetence and dishonesty. 6 months after my promotion, Mark was quietly reassigned to a minor consulting role in a different division. He rarely attended main office functions. His salary was reduced, his prestige vanished, and his reputation thoroughly damaged. Meanwhile, I thrived. The regional development project progressed ahead of schedule. My team respected me, collaborated enthusiastically, and delivered exceptional work. The board praised my leadership regularly. Industry publications interviewed me about innovative project management approaches. My parents attended a company event where I received an award for excellence in architectural leadership. They watched me accept the recognition, shake hands with executives, and deliver a gracious acceptance speech. Afterward, my mother hugged me tightly. "We should have seen this years ago. You've always been remarkable." "Thank you," I said. "But I didn't do this for recognition. I did it because it was right." Mark approached hesitantly. "Congratulations, Victoria." "Thank you, Mark. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I want you to know I'm sorry. I was jealous and insecure, and I handled it terribly." I studied his face, seeing genuine regret. "I appreciate the apology. I hope you learn from this and build your skills genuinely." He nodded and walked away. I felt no bitterness, only closure. The battle was over, and integrity had won. Sitting in my new corner office, I reflected on the journey. The betrayal had been devastating. Watching Mark claim my achievements while our parents celebrated him had broken something in me. But it had also forged something stronger. I learned that excellence speaks louder than manipulation. That documentation and competence build reputations manipulation cannot sustain. that patience and strategy triumph over impulsive anger. I learned to value allies who recognize truth over charm. People like Patricia, Tom, and Bernard who supported me not because I demanded it, but because they respected genuine ability. I learned that vindication comes not from destroying your enemies, but from building something so undeniable that their lies collapse under the weight of truth. My phone buzzed with a message from Cross. Board wants to discuss expanding your role. Dinner next week. I smiled. New challenges awaited, but now I faced them with confidence earned through fire. Mark had tried to steal my success, but he had accidentally given me something more valuable, the certainty that my worth did not depend on others' recognition. I was skilled, capable, and deserving. That knowledge was mine, unshakable and permanent. The betrayal had hurt, but surviving it made me stronger. 3 years later, I stood in the completed Westbridge Commercial Plaza, my regional development project's centerpiece. The space gleamed with natural light, sustainable design, and architectural innovation. Clients praised its functionality. The community celebrated its beauty. Industry awards lined my office shelves. I hosted a completion celebration, inviting everyone who had contributed. Tom, Patricia, and dozens of team members attended. Even Bernard Foster came, smiling proudly. "You've exceeded every expectation," he said. "Not just professionally, but personally. You handled adversity with grace." My parents attended, genuinely proud. My mother showed everyone photos of my achievements on her phone. My father introduced me to strangers as our brilliant daughter. Mark sent a card. "Congratulations. You earned everything you achieved." I appreciated the acknowledgement, brief though it was. That evening, standing alone in the plaza after guests left, I looked up at the structure I had designed and built through determination, skill, and unwavering integrity. The journey from betrayal to triumph had been long and painful, but I had not compromised my values. I had not fought dirty. I had simply refused to accept less than I deserved and worked relentlessly to prove my worth. The tables had turned completely, not through revenge, but through excellence. Mark had tried to steal my future. Instead, he had accidentally shown me how strong I truly was. I walked out of the plaza into the evening air, confident and at peace. The story was not about defeating Mark. It was about discovering myself and realizing that real success cannot be stolen because it is built on genuine skill, not borrowed glory. I had won, not just the promotion, the project, or the recognition. I had won something far more valuable, unshakable belief in my own worth. And that victory was mine forever.